The education system is broken, but so are the people working within it. It's a pretty bold statement, right? Just take a moment and see how that lands for you. How does it feel in your body, your mind, and your soul? For me, my body feels shaky. My heart's racing really fast. And it feels a little tight. My mind's racing, and my soul is this perfect balance of very excited and nervous all at once. Could have something to do with the fact that I'm on this stage talking about something that I've been dreaming of for 5 years. No biggie. So let's just take a breath. Apart from all jokes, it is really important that we highlight the fact that that bold statement does have some truth to it. Yes, there are things that aren't working in the education system at the moment, but I'm not here today to point fingers, to blame, to shame, or to tell you a heap of statistics that you probably already hear. That's a fear-based response. What I'm here to do to talk to you today about is the idea of unravelling the education system from the inside out. And I want to take you on a little journey of my own unravelling that's led me here today. So once a teacher, always a teacher, am I right? Let's tell a story. Let's lead an inquiry, because that's what I've been doing for the last 5 years. A beginning, a middle, but not quite an ending just yet, a possibility. So I'll take you back. It's 2010, and I am the most enthusiastic, excited graduate teacher ever. I just landed my job, the dream job, at an international school here in the region. I couldn't believe it. This doesn't happen to people, especially graduate teachers. I was winning. Fast forward a couple of weeks, I'm setting up my classroom, really excited, and in walks my supervising teacher. And she's all serious, and she says to me, "Welcome, how are you going with everything?" And I said, "Okay." And she said, "I just need you to know one thing. In order to make it in this school, you're going to have a really thick skin." And I thought, oh, that's a little harsh. I went home and I cried. A lot. I was like, don't kill my buzz. I'm excited. I've been to uni. I know what I'm doing. But the reality was just that you do need to have a thick skin in education. So I started my class, 25 eager little faces all staring up at me thinking, teach me all the things. And I thought, yep, I'm ready. And boy, was I wrong. It is the most giving job, and I had no idea just how intense it was going to be. Not only was I responsible for their learning to teach them how to spell and read and write and do all the amazing things that we learn at university, I was also responsible for 25 little emotions, stories, behaviours, and their families that came with that. And those 25 little humans wanted to get to know me, but so did their parents, and their parents in a little bit of a different way. It was tough. Fast forward a few years, I was starting to get the hang of it, growing some confidence, and I landed a job in a dream school in Singapore. I was ecstatic. I was moving up the ranks, working in leadership roles, but what was happening was the workload was just getting harder and harder and bigger, and I was finding myself so deeply overwhelmed. It was just so much so that I started to get sick. My hair started falling out. My immune system was shot. I was stressed, I was anxious, and I was losing my passion for teaching. I was devastated. And so I decided to leave. I walked away. And that was hard. But that energy inside me was like, I can't leave because there has to be something missing. There's got to be a key. And so off I went in 2018 on an epic journey around the world. I explored different schools, I interviewed teachers, parents, guardians. I worked in schools in East Africa, in Europe, and I started gathering all of this data. And there was one thing that was really clear. There was a really big gap between curriculum and emotional and social well-being. But there was an even bigger gap in caring for the teachers, looking out for the well-being, the mindset, and looking out for what makes teaching so exciting and reminding people of that, because it is hard. And so from there, I started gathering this data and started exploring mindfulness and yoga and all of these incredible modalities to help me understand it even more. And amongst all of that, I went through some really personal, difficult turmoil. At a very young age, I got divorced. And I had to then put all of these things into practice, all of these ideas that I'd been gathering around well-being and mindfulness. I was at rock bottom, devastated. Everything I knew had unravelled right before my eyes. And so there I was. Name an ology, I did it. Anything that I could do to get myself out of that hole, I was in. And I did. And I immersed myself so deeply that I thought, this is the key. And as things started to get better, I started coming back to life. I thought, okay, so what am I going to do with this? What's next for me? And I kind of dipped my toes back into some casual teaching, and the same issues were there. And I thought to myself, okay, I could do a little bit of this and help people privately. People were coming and asking me for help. Can you help me with my children, with their emotions? Oh, I've also been through something challenging. Can you tell us too? And I was like, I could actually turn this into something. And I did. In that time, I created what I call the Unravel method. Recognise, release, relearn and reflect. And therefore the Unravel Academy. And this is what I do today. And so, fast forward yet again. It's 2022. I've just moved back from living abroad. Now there's another story in there, a love story, which is like amazing. My own unravelling in love. That's probably another TED talk. I might have to come back next year for that one, just saying. But through that, I moved abroad and then I came back to Australia. And in that time, I reconnected with a really profound and open-minded principle that when I was at my weakest, he invited me, he said, stay in my school, ground your feet, tell me what you want to do. That was in 2018. Fast forward 2022. And he said to me, so what are your plans, Joanne? And I said, I want to put Unravel in a school. We had a coffee, we had a chat, and he said, let's do it. And so he named a community in our school where there were so many young graduate teachers yearning for some support, because the retention rate of teaching was really, really challenged, especially over a couple of years of difficult time. The cohort of students were having challenges in conflict, and the data was reflecting that there was something just not working, like so many other schools. And so with the courage, vulnerability and open-mindedness that school values, it's a coaching culture. I dove in with my skills in curriculum, teaching and education and well-being, and I went like this. And we did it. And for the last 2 years, it has been the greatest success story because it's changing the culture of the way we look at embedding well-being and mindfulness into our schools. Teachers are busy. They do not need another thing to add. And what I've done is actually embed it into the curriculum in clever ways. What's happened is teachers are starting to talk to each other about the vulnerabilities and the challenging parts that it means to be a teacher, but also a human. Because if the human's not unravelled, what's going to happen to those students? They receive that, just like the parents. If they're not feeling great, that's what happens. These little humans are looking up at us, wanting to learn, eager to connect. And that's exactly what we do. We work with the teachers first. And then we drifted it out into the community, and we've now got Year 5 and Year 6 students talking about victim versus creator. They're recognising their emotions. They're rolling through conflict, learning and exploring. It is a dream. I have the most incredible open-minded team that are there saying, oh, this feels uncomfortable, I'm not sure, Joanne. And we unravel it together. And it's working. So for me, this amalgamation of education, curriculum and well-being, my two worlds combining, this is what I see as the future of education. We need people in schools that have this ability to unravel self first, unravelling from the inside out. knowing how you are as a person, as a leader and as a teacher, and how that will then impact and reflect and ripple through our schools. We have a responsibility to make a very important change in education, and I am so excited to be part of it. I don't know what the future holds, because the Unravel process is not a solution. I don't want to give it that word. It's an inquiry. And it's an inquiry that our school and what I'm doing out in the wider community is putting in place with courage, with love, and with an open mind. And so at the start, I invited you to share how that felt in your body, mind, and soul. I've calmed down. My mind feels clear. My soul feels ready. And I don't know about you, but I'm certainly excited for what's possible when we all decide just a little bit what's on the other side if we unravel. And so my vision, my big, big joy, my big, big love is to unravel education from the inside out. And it has been an absolute pleasure to share just a snitch of what I would have as my big vision with all of you today. And so I invite you, are you ready to unravel too? Thank you so much for listening. Thank you.